The sun was barely peeking through the curtains when I stepped into the bathroom, the quiet of our suburban New Jersey home wrapping around me like a thick blanket. The peacefulness of the morning was shattered, however, when my gaze fell upon the bathtub. There, tangled in the drain, were clumps of synthetic fibers, glistening eerily in the faint light. They were unlike anything I had ever seen, and a knot of unease tightened in my stomach. "Calvin?" I called out, my voice echoing slightly against the tiled walls. My husband, a financial analyst known for his meticulous nature, appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "What's this?" I asked, pointing towards the bathtub. His eyes flicked towards the mess before meeting mine, and for a moment I saw something flicker in his gaze. Was it guilt? Annoyance? It was gone before I could decipher it. "Oh, that," Calvin began, scratching the back of his neck. "It's probably from the new cleaning product I tried. You know, the experimental one I mentioned last week." I didn't remember him mentioning any such product, and the way he avoided my gaze did nothing to ease the sudden tension between us. "Experimental cleaning product?" I echoed, my voice laced with skepticism. "And it leaves synthetic fibers in the tub?" He shrugged, a casual gesture that felt forced. "Seems like it. I'll clean it up, don't worry about it." But worry I did. As he busied himself with the mess, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. Calvin had always been the epitome of transparency, or so I thought. The fibers, his evasive eyes, the flimsy explanation, it all seemed like a small crack in the foundation of our marriage, a marriage that had, until now, felt unshakable. I turned away, the unease festering inside me. I had left my job as a graphic designer to focus on our soon-to-arrive baby, trusting Calvin to be our rock during this transformative time. Yet, here I was, questioning the very foundation of our relationship over something as trivial as fibers in a bathtub. The day progressed with an undercurrent of tension. Calvin acted as if the morning's incident was forgotten, enveloping me in a hug and kissing the top of my head before he left for work. But the warmth of his embrace did little to thaw the chill that had settled in my heart. As the door closed behind him, I found myself standing in the middle of our living room, surrounded by the life we had built together. Pictures of our holidays, family gatherings, and lazy weekends adorned the walls, a testament to the love and companionship we had shared. Yet the doubt that had seated itself in my mind refused to be ignored. Determined not to let my imagination get the best of me, I decided to focus on the day ahead. There were nursery decorations to finalize and baby clothes to wash. Life, as they say, had to go on. But as I busied myself with preparations for our baby, I couldn't help but feel that the incident in the bathroom was not just a one-off anomaly, but perhaps the first whisper of a storm brewing on the horizon of our seemingly tranquil life. A week had flown by since the unsettling discovery in the bathtub, and the rhythm of our daily life seemed to have returned to its usual comforting pattern. That was until Calvin came home one evening, his hands behind his back, a smile playing on his lips. "I have a surprise for you," he announced, his eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and something else I couldn't quite place. "What is it?" I asked, curiosity piqued, despite the lingering doubts that had taken up residence in the back of my mind. He brought his hands forward, revealing a set of luxurious-looking wellness oils. "These were recommended by a coworker," he explained, "supposed to help with pregnancy discomforts. I thought they could help you relax." The gesture seemed thoughtful, and for a moment I allowed myself to be swept up in the affectionate intent. "That's so sweet of you, Calvin," I replied, my heart warming slightly. But as I took the bottles from him, a sliver of apprehension wormed its way into my thoughts. After last week's incident, trusting Calvin's gestures had become a complicated affair. That night, I used the oils, massaging them into my skin, hoping for relief from the backaches that had become a constant companion during my pregnancy. However, within minutes of application, my skin began to itch, then burn. Panic set in as hives erupted across my body, my breathing grew labored, and my vision started to blur. "Calvin!" I cried out, fear coloring my voice as I stumbled out of the bathroom. He rushed to my side, his expression morphing from concern to shock as he took in my appearance. "What happened?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. "The oils? Something's not right," I gasped, struggling to speak through the swelling in my throat. Without hesitation, Calvin scooped me into his arms and rushed me to the hospital. The drive was a blur of pain and fear, my mind reeling from the rapid turn of events. At the hospital, a quick-thinking nurse recognized the severity of my allergic reaction and immediately administered the necessary treatment. As the antihistamines began to work their magic, she scrutinized the wellness oil bottles Calvin had handed over. These contain strong essential oils, some of which are not recommended for pregnant women. They can be quite harmful, she explained, her tone gentle yet firm. I lay there, in the hospital bed, trying to process her words. The implications were chilling, and as I turned to look at Calvin, I saw him avert his gaze, a telltale sign of guilt. "Why would you give these to me without checking?" The question came out softer than I intended, a mix of hurt and disbelief in my voice. I didn't know," he stammered, his usual confidence nowhere to be found. "I'm so sorry, Lena. I just wanted to help." But the damage was done. The trust I had placed in him, once unbreakable, now lay shattered. The realization that his actions, whether through negligence or intent, had put me and our unborn child in danger was a bitter pill to swallow. As I recovered in the hospital, the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on me. The man I had loved and trusted had, in one way or another, endangered our lives. The warmth and safety I had once felt in our marriage had been replaced by a cold, gnawing uncertainty. The incident with the wellness oils was not just an accident. It was a wake-up call. The man I had built my life with was no longer the person I thought he was. As I lay there, surrounded by the sterile hospital environment, a resolve began to form within me. I needed to protect myself and my baby, no matter what that might entail. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain. I would not, let this go. The days following the hospital incident were filled with a tense silence that hung heavily between Calvin and me. He attempted to apologize, to explain, but his words felt empty, like echoes in a void. My heart, once open and trusting, had fortified itself against him, the seeds of doubt sprouting into towering walls. It was during this time of quiet turmoil that curiosity got the better of me. Calvin had been increasingly absent, claiming the pressures of work demanded more of his time. Yet something about his explanations didn't sit right. Driven by a need for the truth, I made a decision that would alter the course of our lives forever. Picking up the phone, I dialed Calvin's office, my heart pounding in my chest. The receptionist's voice, cheery and oblivious to my turmoil, greeted me. "I'm calling to speak with Calvin. Is he available?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, I'm sorry," she responded, her tone turning apologetic. "Calvin is currently on a leave of absence, has been for a couple of weeks now." The room spun around me as her words sank in. A leave of absence? Calvin had told me he was going on a business trip, not taking time off work. The lie was blatant, a slap in the face. "Thank you," I managed to say before hanging up, my mind racing. The betrayal stung, deep and sharp. Calvin's lies, his deceit, were unraveling before me, each discovery a thread pulled from the fabric of our marriage. I needed to know the extent of his betrayal for myself. With a heavy heart, I drove to the place he had mentioned as his trip's destination, a quaint little bed and breakfast a few towns over. The drive felt surreal, each mile bringing me closer to a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to face. Arriving at the bed and breakfast, I spotted Calvin's car in the parking lot. My breath hitched, a mix of fear and anger coursing through me. I approached the front desk, my resolve firm. "I'm looking for my husband, Calvin. I believe he's staying here?" The receptionist, a kind-looking woman in her 50s, glanced at her records before looking up at me, her expression sympathetic. "I'm sorry, dear. I can't give out guest information. But," she paused, her eyes softening, "if you wait in the lounge, perhaps you'll find who you're looking for." I nodded, taking a seat in the lounge, my heart in my throat. Minutes ticked by, each one stretching into eternity until finally I saw them. Calvin and a younger woman, laughing and carefree, emerged from the hallway. The sight of them together, so intimate and relaxed, was a knife twisting in my gut. Without thinking, I stood up, my presence catching Calvin's eye. The color drained from his face as he saw me, his expression one of pure shock. "Lena, what are you doing here?" The woman beside him, whom I recognized as Sophie from his office, looked from him to me, realization dawning on her face. "Calvin, who is this?" she asked, her voice tinged with confusion and suspicion. I'm his wife, I said, the words heavy with a mix of sadness and anger. Calvin attempted to speak, to explain, but what was there left to say? The truth was laid bare before us, his lies and deceit exposed in the light of day. The drive back home was a blur of emotions, tears streaming down my face as the reality of my marriage's collapse settled in. Calvin had betrayed me, not just with his lies about work, but with his heart. The pain was overwhelming, but within it, a determination took root. I would not let this betrayal define me. I would fight back, expose his true nature, and reclaim my life from the ashes of our broken vows. In the aftermath of uncovering Calvin's deceit, I found myself at a crossroads, engulfed in a storm of betrayal and hurt. The life I thought I knew, the man I believed I had married, had all been a facade. But amidst the chaos, a plan began to take shape. Fueled by a desire for justice, for vindication. It was then that I turned to Erica, a childhood friend who had become a private investigator. Over cups of coffee in the quiet corner of a local cafe, I poured out my heart, the words tumbling out in a rush of emotion. Erica listened, her expression a mix of anger and determination. He did what? Erica's voice was low, simmering with outrage. Lena, this is beyond forgiveness. He's not just cheated on you, he's endangered you and your baby. We need to do something. Her reaction bolstered my resolve. I want to expose him, Erica. I want everyone to see him for who he truly is, I said, my voice firm with conviction. Erica nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. We'll need evidence, texts, emails, anything that shows his true character. And his affair with Sophie, that's not just emotional betrayal, it's leverage. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. With Erica's guidance, I began to gather evidence. Calvin, perhaps guilt-ridden or merely careless, had left a trail of indiscretions. Text messages, emails, even receipts, all painting a clear picture of a man who had strayed far from his vows. But it wasn't just about the affair. The wellness oils, the synthetic fibers, each piece added to a mosaic of malice and deception. Erica was meticulous, ensuring that every piece of evidence was irrefutable, a damning testament to Calvin's actions. Then came the day of reckoning. With Erica by my side, we confronted Calvin. It was in our living room, the very heart of what had once been our shared life, now a stage for the unraveling of lies. Calvin, we need to talk, I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. He looked between Erica and me, confusion quickly giving way to fear. What's this about? It's about the truth, Erica interjected, her tone brooking no argument. About your affair with Sophie, your lies, your attempts to harm Lena. Calvin's facade cracked, his usual charm and confidence dissolving into panic. Lena, I can explain, he pleaded, but his words fell on deaf ears. We have evidence, Calvin. Everything, I said, holding up a folder filled with printed messages and photographs. Your lies, the affair, the wellness oils. It's over. The confrontation was intense, emotions running high. Calvin floundered, his excuses and pleas for forgiveness ringing hollow. For the first time, I saw him for who he truly was. Not the man I had married, but a stranger cloaked in deceit. In the end, Calvin left, his departure marking the end of our marriage but the beginning of my journey towards healing. Erica stood by me, her presence a reminder of the strength found in solidarity. The strategy was set in motion, a plan to not only expose Calvin's actions to our friends and family, but to ensure legal repercussions. It was not about revenge, it was about justice, about protecting others from the harm he had caused. As I looked towards the future, I knew the road ahead would be challenging. But with Erica's unwavering support and the evidence we had gathered, I was ready to face whatever came next. The chapter of my life with Calvin was closed, but a new one was just beginning, one where I would no longer be a victim of deceit, but a survivor, strong and resolute. With Calvin's deceit laid bare and my resolve hardened, the next step was clear. Erica and I sat down to craft a meticulous plan that would not only expose Calvin but also ensure he faced the consequences of his actions. Our strategy was to be precise, leaving no room for him to maneuver or escape accountability. We need to make sure every detail is covered, Erica said, her eyes scanning the documents we had spread out before us. The evidence of his affair and the attempts to harm you are solid, but we need to think about the legal aspects too. I nodded, my mind focused. I want to make sure he can't do this to anyone else. What are our options? Erica leaned back, her expression serious. Divorce is the first step, but we'll also go for a restraining order based on the threats to your safety. And the evidence we've gathered can support a case for emotional distress. The thought of legal proceedings was daunting, but the need for justice pushed me forward. Let's do it. I want to be free of him, and I want him to face the reality of what he's done. The following days were a whirlwind of meetings with lawyers and preparations for the legal battle ahead. Erica was by my side every step of the way, her expertise and support invaluable. Calvin, meanwhile, seemed to sense the storm that was brewing, his attempts to contact me becoming more desperate. Then came the day we confronted him publicly. It was at a local community event, a place where the facade he had so carefully maintained would crumble for all to see. As we approached him, the crowd's murmur provided a backdrop to the drama that was about to unfold. "Calvin," I called out, my voice steady despite the pounding of my heart. He turned, his face going pale as he saw Erica and me standing before him. "Lena, he began, but I cut him off. "No, Calvin, you've said enough. It's time everyone knew the truth about you," I declared, my voice carrying in the quiet that had fallen over the crowd. Erica stepped forward, holding up the evidence we had gathered. "This man has lied, cheated, and endangered the health of his pregnant wife. We have proof of his affair, his deceit, and his attempts to cause harm." The crowd's reaction was immediate, whispers turning into murmurs of disbelief and shock. Calvin's eyes darted around, seeking an ally, finding none. His usual charm was useless here. The evidence was too damning, the betrayal too deep. "But it's not like that," he stammered, his voice betraying his panic. "It's exactly like that," I retorted, the strength in my voice surprising even me. "You're going to face the consequences of your actions, Calvin, legally and socially. It's over." As we turned to leave, the crowd's eyes on us, I felt a mix of emotions. There was satisfaction in exposing Calvin, yes, but also a profound sense of relief. The weight I had been carrying was finally lifting, the path to healing and moving forward becoming clearer. The legal battles that followed were challenging, filled with moments of doubt and fear. But with Erica's unwavering support and the strength I found within myself, I navigated each hurdle. Calvin's facade of respectability was shattered, his actions laid bare for all to see. As the final gavel fell, granting me the divorce and the protection I sought, a chapter of my life closed. But in its place, a new one began, one of hope, resilience, and newfound strength. Calvin's betrayal would always be a part of my story, but it would not define me. I was moving forward, stronger and more determined than ever. The culmination of our efforts against Calvin was a meticulously planned public confrontation, designed to strip away the last vestiges of his deceitful facade. Erica and I chose a well-attended local event, ensuring a maximum audience for Calvin's unmasking. The air was charged with tension as we made our way through the crowd, the folder of evidence firm in my grip. As we approached Calvin, who was engaged in a lively conversation with unsuspecting acquaintances, I felt a surge of adrenaline. The moment of truth was upon us. "Calvin," I called out, my voice stronger than I expected, drawing the attention of those around us. The circle of people turned, their curiosity piqued. Calvin's face went from surprise to dread in a matter of seconds, his eyes flicking to the folder in my hands. "Lena, what are you doing here?" he managed to say, attempting to maintain his composure. "It's time everyone knew the truth about you," I said, opening the folder and revealing the printed evidence of his affair, the harmful wellness oils and the lies that had endangered me and our unborn child. The crowd's murmurs grew louder as Erica stepped forward, her investigator's authority lending weight to our words. "This man's actions are not just those of a cheating husband. They are calculated and dangerous," Erica declared, her voice cutting through the noise, ensuring every ear was tuned to our direction. Calvin attempted to interject. "Lena, please, let's talk about this in private." "There's nothing left to say, Calvin. Not after what you've done," I responded, holding up a photo for the crowd to see, a picture of him and Sophie, clearly more than just colleagues. The reactions around us ranged from shock to disgust, as the reality of Calvin's character became undeniable. Whispers turned into vocal condemnations, the community's disdain for his actions becoming palpable. "You tried to hurt me, Calvin. You lied, you cheated, and you endangered our baby," I continued, the truth of his actions laid bare for all to see. You don't deserve silence. You deserve to be exposed for who you truly are. Calvin's face reddened, the mask of charm and confidence crumbling as he faced the consequences of his actions. You don't understand, it's not like that, he stammered, but his protests fell on deaf ears. It's exactly like that, Erica interjected, her demeanor unyielding. The evidence speaks for itself. You're a danger to those around you, Calvin. It's over. As the confrontation reached its peak, Calvin's veneer of respectability was irreparably shattered. The crowd's judgment was clear, their backs turning on him both metaphorically and physically. In the days that followed, the impact of our public confrontation reverberated through our community. Calvin's professional life suffered as colleagues and clients distanced themselves, unwilling to associate with a man of such dubious moral character. The social circles that once welcomed him now closed their doors, leaving him to face the fallout of his actions alone. For me, the confrontation was more than just a moment of revenge. It was a declaration of my independence from the web of lies and manipulation that had ensnared me. With Erica's unwavering support, I had faced my fears and emerged victorious, not just in the eyes of our community, but in my own heart. The battle was not without its scars, but as I looked towards the future, I did so with a sense of clarity and purpose. I had reclaimed my life from the shadows of deceit, ready to move forward with strength and dignity. Calvin's downfall was a testament to the power of truth, a beacon for anyone who had ever faced betrayal and sought justice. In the aftermath of Calvin's public exposure, the wheels of justice began to turn with relentless momentum. The climactic confrontation had not only stripped him of his deceitful veneer, but also marked the beginning of his inevitable downfall. With the community's eyes now wide open to his true character, Calvin found himself isolated, his manipulations laid bare for all to see. The days that followed were a testament to the power of truth and the strength of a community unwilling to turn a blind eye to injustice. Local media, tipped off by Erica's strategic insights, had captured the confrontation, and the story quickly spread, igniting a firestorm of public outrage. Calvin's once pristine reputation crumbled under the weight of his actions, his professional life imploding as colleagues and clients distanced themselves. "Have you seen this?" Erica asked one morning, her voice a mix of vindication and disbelief as she handed me the morning paper. The front page featured Calvin's downfall, the headline a stark declaration of his misdeeds. Reading through the article, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Satisfaction at the public acknowledgement of his actions, yes, but also a profound sense of relief that the truth was finally out. Calvin, for his part, seemed to unravel under the pressure. His attempts to reach out, to explain or justify his actions, were met with a unified front of silence. The legal proceedings against him, fueled by the evidence Erica and I had gathered, proceeded with a grim inevitability. The courtroom was a cold, unyielding place, a stark contrast to the warmth of the life I once thought I shared with Calvin. As the evidence was presented, his attempts to deflect or deny were feeble, transparent in their desperation. The judge's final verdict was a solemn vindication of everything we had fought for. "Mr. Calvin, your actions have not only endangered the health and well-being of your wife, but have also violated the trust and safety of your family," the judge intoned, his voice resolute. "The evidence presented against you is overwhelming, and it is the court's decision to grant a full divorce in favor of Mrs. Lena, along with a restraining order and significant financial restitution." The gavel's final sound echoed through the courtroom, a definitive end to the legal battle. Calvin's face, once so familiar, now seemed like a mask of defeat and despair. But as I looked at him, I felt no joy at his downfall, only a deep, resounding relief that it was finally over. Outside the courtroom, the sun seemed brighter, the air fresher. Erica stood beside me, her presence a constant source of strength throughout this ordeal. "You did it, Lena. It's over," she said, her voice soft yet filled with an undeniable joy. "It is," I replied, allowing myself to feel the full weight of the moment. "But I couldn't have done it without you, Erica. Thank you." As we walked away from the courthouse, I realized that this was not just an end, but a beginning. The journey ahead would be mine to shape, free from deceit and manipulation. The scars of the past would always be a part of me, but they no longer defined me. I was moving forward into a future filled with hope and the promise of new beginnings. Calvin's downfall was a harsh reminder of the consequences of betrayal and deceit. But more importantly, it was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the power of truth, and the strength that comes from standing up for oneself. As I looked ahead, I knew that whatever challenges lay before me, I was ready to face them with courage and grace. The chapter of my life marked by Calvin's betrayal was closed, but my story was far from over. As the dust settled on the legal battles and public confrontations, the once tumultuous storm that was my life began to calm. The final chapter of my ordeal with Calvin was not one of continued revenge or bitterness, but rather of rebuilding and finding peace in the aftermath of betrayal. The courtroom had been the battleground where I had stood firm, with Erica by my side, as we laid bare the truth of Calvin's actions. The divorce decree was now in my hands, a document that symbolized not just the end of a marriage, but the beginning of a new chapter in my life. Sitting in the quiet of my living room, the decree resting on the coffee table, I allowed myself a moment to reflect. The journey had been fraught with pain and deception, but it had also been a testament to resilience and the power of standing up for oneself. Calvin was now facing the consequences of his actions, both legally and socially. The community's support had been overwhelming, their kindness a beacon of light in my darkest moments. Erica, ever the steadfast friend, sat beside me, her presence a constant source of comfort. "You did it, Lena. You stood up to him and came out stronger," she said, her voice filled with pride. I nodded, a sense of resolve settling over me. "I did, but it wasn't just for me. It was for our baby, too. I want to build a better future for us, free from the shadow of Calvin's deceit." The path ahead was clear, albeit daunting. Single motherhood was a new territory for me, one that I knew would come with its own challenges and joys. Yet, I felt ready to face it head-on, armed with the lessons of the past and the hope for a brighter future. In the weeks that followed, I focused on healing, both emotionally and physically. The nursery, once a source of contention, became a labor of love, each detail meticulously chosen to create a sanctuary for my child. Erica was a constant presence, her laughter and support a reminder that I was not alone in this journey. The community around me rallied, their gestures of support small beacons of light in the rebuilding of my life. From meals to baby supplies, their kindness underscored the fact that, while the path I was on was my own, I was surrounded by a network of support. As the due date approached, I found myself looking forward to motherhood with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The future was uncertain, yet the strength I had found within myself, a strength forged through trials and tribulations, gave me the courage to face it. The day my child was born was one of profound joy and renewal. Holding my baby for the first time, I felt the weight of the past lift, replaced by a deep, encompassing love. This moment marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where the shadows of betrayal were replaced by the light of new beginnings. Life after Calvin was not without its challenges, but it was rich in love and hope. Erica remained my rock, her friendship a constant source of strength and laughter. My child, a beacon of innocence and joy, reminded me daily of the resilience of the human spirit. As I navigated the waters of single motherhood, I did so with the knowledge that I had faced the worst in someone, and had emerged not just surviving, but thriving. The betrayal that had once threatened to break me had instead been the catalyst for growth and empowerment. The final chapter of this ordeal was not written in the words of revenge, but in the actions of rebuilding and moving forward. My story, once marred by deception, was now a testament to resilience, a narrative of a woman who had faced the depths of betrayal and emerged stronger, her spirit unbroken, her heart open to the promise of a new day.